music or anything. You know that, don't you? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm your host, Joe Abadi. Once again tonight, we've put together a program for you under these extremely unusual circumstances. Due to the outbreak in the coronavirus and, of course, everyone having to stay at home, Jordan is out at his house 35 or 40 miles from here, out near the bay. I'm 35 miles into the East Bay, but through technology, a lot of cables, and a couple of different cameras, we're here to bring you a show this evening. On tonight's show, we're going to have a lot of things for you, the basic things you're used to seeing each week. Right now, let's get down to the starting line and I'll tell you about them. On tonight's show, we're going to talk about hardware, how to refinish a bolt and do some things with it that you might not normally think about before you send it in for plating. We've also got some things happening with a 1976 Yamaha YZ125X that was transformed by Rich Clark into a perfect DG replica from 1976. You're going to want to hear all the details about this bike and all the research he did to make this thing come to life. Also on the show, we have your questions and here's the problem segment. We're going to be talking about some really interesting things there. We've got some questions also about painting, about just different things that I think you're going to like. In the What's It Worth segment, we take a look at a 1976 Honda CR125 that was transformed into an FMF racer. This bike recently sold on eBay. It was a restoration performed by Bill Masho. Did an outstanding job, as Bill always does. You're going to be real surprised at the price on this bike when we take a look at it a little bit later in the show. Just how I see it, this is a new segment where I give you my opinion or my thoughts on what's going on with a certain topic tonight. It's going to be about gas tanks, a conversation I had with a guy named Phil Job from the UK, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that later on in the show. I want to thank our sponsors, Preston Petty Products, Vintco, Amsoil, of course, FastGuyStuff.com, and March Madness continues over at Metro Racing. There'll be a trivia contest a little bit later in the show. So you'll need to be near your phone or get somebody else's phone. I'll pop that question to you a little bit later on. We'll give you a phone number. You call in and you can win an autographed Preston Petty number plate. Compliments of course, Paul Standard and Preston Petty Products. Right now, you know you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A here on Facebook. If you can, I'd like you just to take a moment to hit that share button. Maybe tell some of your friends on Facebook that you're watching the show. Get them over here. Have them take a look at it as well. Nothing happens when you hit the share button, fellas. Just hit it. Get some people to come over, watch the show with us. And, well, I'd greatly appreciate it. And we'll have a bigger audience. And, well, who doesn't want that? Anybody that's got a live show on Facebook, I'm sure would want it. So hit that share button. Oh, YouTube, big news here. We are up on YouTube right now. All the previous shows that we've done are there. It's under VMX Q&A Live. You can go subscribe to the channel, see all the videos, but you can now see them in HD. It's going to be really, really good as time goes on. Here's why. As you subscribe and you tell other people about it, we're looking to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. When that happens, and it should happen relatively easily, and I'll tell you why. We have over 3,500, close to 4,000 people who are members of this page, Vintage Motocross Q&A, here on Facebook. 4,000. If we get to 1,000 on YouTube, we will then be, of course, not only in HD, we'll be able to broadcast live on YouTube. And this is really good. Why? You don't have to watch on your phone. You don't have to watch on your computer. You could sit right on your couch with your feet up, watching it on television. That's right. You can get YouTube through your television. So whether you're watching this right now or you could tell some friends about it, everybody, if you can, subscribe to YouTube, to our show over there, to our channel. And once we get to 1,000, we'll be broadcasting live on YouTube and we'll also be in HD. It'll be a good time. I hope you could tell some people about that. Right now, next time, why not try this? This is sponsored by our friends Don and Peg Miller at Metro Racing. And tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about hardware. and how you can refinish some of the heads on some of the hardware that you have, and what you can do, even if you got a little rounded corner or something. Well, you know what? I've probably said enough. Jordan, why don't you roll the video and I'll talk a little bit about it as we go through the video here. Right here, what we have is a bolt, and the top has some writing on it that you might find on different makes and models. Even if you bought some replacement hardware many times, there's some writing on it. What I like to do, because I don't like to see any incorrect writing, any incorrect logos on bolts, I like to file them off with a nice fine file, just like this. You keep the file nice and flat, and you can get off all that writing that's on there. After that, I hit it with a little sandpaper. First, I hit it with a little 240 and then a little bit of 320. In this video, you can see where I've put it on my longboard, 320 on one side, 240 on the other. I go over it with the 240 first, left to right, back and forth, and go around in circles. It makes that nice and smooth. Now you'll see a little scratch or two after the 240, so I follow up with some 320 in the same process, back and forth, round and round, and knock down that any writing that might be on top of that bolt of that head. And as you can see here in the video, it all comes out nice and smooth. Now, once I polish that, I could send it in for plating, and it's going to come back looking like a brand new bolt. Why I like to do this is because I hate to see the wrong writing or the wrong logos on certain bolts. Yamahas have 6s on them, Kawasaki's have 7s, of course, Suzuki's have the S, but whatever it might be. I'd rather see a bolt on a bike that doesn't say anything on it than have the wrong number on it. Anyway, you can do that. And also, this works if you have a little rounded corner on a bolt, maybe a wrench has slipped over the years, and you want to save the bolt. Let's just say, while we're talking about this, let's say you have a Suzuki bolt or a Bultaco bolt, and it's got a little bit of a rounded mark or a little flat spot on it. You can take a file it nice, make it square again. You're not going to take it down too much because you're not going to try and repair something that's really not repairable. And then you're going to sand it a little, polish it, and you can reuse that hardware. Now, it's not the be all and the end all for all hardware. It's just what I said. You got a little nick or a rounded part, or you bought some aftermarket bolts and you don't really care for the writing that's on it. You can file it, you can sand it, you can polish it, get it off to your plater, and you'll get something back that's going to look really, really nice on your bike. Metro Racing. March Madness continues for Peg and Don Miller at Metro Racing in Brackney, Pennsylvania. They've got 40% off on just about everything, from pants to jerseys to shirts. They've got lighters, hats, blankets. They've got a whole supply of stuff out there at Metro Racing. And with 40% off, there's only about a week or so left in March. So you want to get over to metroracing.com, tell Peg and Don Miller that Joe Abadi sent you from Vintage Motocross Q&A. You're not going to get a bigger discount, but then again, you're getting 40% off now. metroracing.com. Thanks, Peg and Don Miller, for being a sponsor of the show. In the Moto Showcase tonight, this is a bike I told you a little bit about before in the starting lines, a 1976 Yamaha YZ125X that was sent in by Rich Clark. This is one of the most amazing replicas I have ever seen when it comes to a vintage motocross bike, and the research and time invested in this bike by Rich Clark is absolutely amazing. In the video or on the screen, on the slide, you can see the original bike right there. It says C50 on it. It's in the black and white shot. To the left is the recreation done by Rich Clark. The one on the bottom right is, of course, the brainchild of DG and Harry Clem back in 1976. In order to make this bike possible, Rich Clark actually contacted Tim Buck, Harry Clem, and Kevin Harlow, who were all there at DG at that time. Jordan, let's advance that slide. He's got the graphics on the tank just the same way it came from DG. All the details of the yellow painted frame and the downpipe. He's also got 35mm Marzocchi forks on there. The DG replica tall boy seat, which is something I never had as an option, but that's another story. He's got NOS Mototech ignition. You can see it right there in the picture. He's got the DG swing arm on there. the DG head, which was NOS. It says it right here in all the information that Rich sent me. It's got an NOS DG swing arm and head on it. It's got that incredible correct downpipe. He's got the rims anodized gold, the same way it came. It's got the 520 chain kit because the 76, well, the 76X may have come with a 520 chain kit. I'm not sure. I know the 125C came with a 428, but Rich has got all the goods on this bike, including, and this is one of the things that impressed me the most about this. He has got with the tires, and just give me a second here, because it's the tires that really impressed me about this bike. He's got an NOS Yokohama Super Digger on the rear and an NOS High Point on the front. Very impressive. When people put the correct tires on a bike, especially period correct or NOS tires from 40 or 45 years ago, especially in a situation like this with a Yamaha Super Digger, Rich really had to go the distance, I'm sure, to find the rubber for this bike. Once again, you can see that tall seat kit on there with the DG logo on the back of it. It looks phenomenal. Of course, the bars are the correct bend. He's got the yellow grips on there. And there's just a slew of things that Rich has done with this bike, from the OEM clutch and fiber plates. The motor was completely gone through every bearing and bushing. It's got a Protect full travel suspension kit and a freshly rebuilt monoshock. What else did he say here? Oh, he's got about 60 or 70 hours invested. I think Rich is being kind. 70 hours doesn't seem like enough. But in between buying the bike and all the parts, he's in for over $8,200. And I believe that. I believe every bit of that. So, Rich Clark, I want to thank you for sending in that amazing DG replica YZ125X. Must have been great to talk to Harry Clem, Tim Buck, Kevin Harlow, while you built it. It is absolutely phenomenal. For you sending that bike in, we're going to be sending you a sticker pack, compliments of FastGuyStuff.com. Thanks again, Rich Clark. Here's the problem segment. This is the part of the show where we take questions from you throughout the week, and I do my best to do a little research on that and come up with some solutions for you. It was a little slow this week when it came to questions. So I reached back a little to some questions that had come in previously, from years ago, from 2017, but they were good questions. And I thought it would be a good time to kind of revive them and put them on the show. I understand everybody's mind is a little bit somewhere else with the lockdown and everything, but we've got some good questions. And we're going to start with the first one from Dan from Canada. Can you give us a straight answer on how many production Harley-Davidson 250s were made, as well as pre-production rear fork models? Oddly enough, just this afternoon, I was text messaging Minalco Salas. Minalco Salas, probably the world's foremost authority on the Harley-Davidson, not only motocross bikes, but on flat tracks bikes and racers in general. Minalco told me there were approximately, give or take a couple of bikes, 1,200 production bikes between 77 and 78. He knows he has in his collection over, I think he's got 1,050. I think he has bike 1,050, and he is almost certain that there were 1,200. As you could see right here on the slide, that's a production bike. Now, the rear fork model bikes, the pre-production bikes, which were released in 1975 to each dealer. I think there were 50 dealers in America at that point. So there was one in every state. Each dealer got this bike right here with the fork model on it, with the rear disc brake. Frames, I believe, were built by Champion at the time. And there was between 65 and 75, no more than 75 of the pre-production bikes in 1975. You can go on Google. I've seen, may he rest in peace, I've seen Tom White respond to this question. He always said between 65 and 75 too. Most people will agree. Not more than 75, most say 65. I want to thank you, Dan from Canada, for that question. Let's get on to the next one. Tom Daw, a big supporter of the show, always sharing the show after it's over every week, Tom Daw. And it's funny, I went back, this question was from a few years back that you sent me, and there it was, Tom Daw. So I wanted to use it. Does powder coat perform well on engines, or should I stick to aerosol paint? Don't powder coat engines. I don't recommend it. I think, there's a difficult enough time with the heat dissipating from the cylinder or from the cases. I would never recommend powder coating on engine cases. What you could do is you could use VHT, chassis and roll bar paint. It's really, really good. There are some other places out there too that make a high temperature heat paint. You want to get a satin black. You don't want to make it flat because they didn't come flat. And you're going to get a nice finish just like this. Something to keep in mind, Jordan, keep that picture there for just a moment. If you were to start to sand, or you'll see if you had an original, excuse me, if you had an original bike, when the paint started to wear through on your engine cases as you would ride, there's no prime underneath there. There's no prime at all. I would imagine that something like VHT in an aerosol can like that, it's probably just as good. If not, it probably surpasses the quality of the paint that came on these bikes 45 years ago. Now, here's what you want to make sure of, and it's the most important part of any paint job. Next slide, Jordan. It's all about the preparation. You want to strip whatever you have. You want to bead blast it. You want to get it clean. You want to do a good job masking, and you want to put a coat of prime on there. You want to get some high heat prime as well. If you're going to use VHT paint, you should use their prime as well. Get them clean, just like you see it here in these cases. So whether it's bead blasting a cylinder head where you can't get in the fins, or a set of cases like this where they have been stripped chemically, it's all about preparation. Preparation, prime, and paint. You got to get them clean. You got to get them ready. You could use the best paint in the world. It doesn't matter. If you don't have a clean surface to put it on, you're just throwing good money after bad. Tom Daw, thanks for that question. Terry Davis, be it eraser or restoration, would you suggest everyone keep receipts for parts, outside labor, and any services? Would this help to justify asking prices when we're going to sell a bike? Terry Davis, you hit the nail right on the head with this question. Absolutely. Now, you saw a bike a little bit earlier, the DG replica from Rich Clark. You also saw the bike that was sold on eBay by Bill Mascio for $8,500. If you were going to go to sell those bikes, or any bike, having a paper trail is one of the most important things you could do, because you're going to ask a price for the bike, whether it's $8,500, $10,000, whatever it is. You've spent your hard-earned money, your expertise to restore it, and now you want your money back. You want at least back what the bike cost you, and then all your parts, at least. When you have a paper trail, a person could come to you and you could be saying, I want $9,000 for the bike. Of course, everybody's going to say, oh, I don't want to pay you $9,000 for it. How do you justify $9,000? This is how I justify $9,000. You see this? This is how much I paid for anodizing. This is how much the chrome cost me. This is how much the bolts cost me. This is how much the tires, and this is how much everything cost me. It cost me $5,500 in parts. I'm asking $6,500 for the bike. Do you want to pay me? No. No? Go pound sand. Go build your own bike. Keep your receipts, guys. It's your strongest leverage when you go to sell a bike, especially when you do a good job. Look, you can save all the receipts you want and do not such a great job, and it's not going to amount to much. You can't put a new set of fenders on a bike for $150 and expect to increase the value of your bike $150. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. But when you're doing a beautiful race restoration, or a restoration itself, or what do I call it? A period correct rebuild, you'll want to keep your receipts, every one of them. Everything adds up. Of course, you don't want your wife to see it, and sometimes you want to shoot yourself in the head just because you saw how much you spent on a bike. But it's very, very important that you keep those receipts. Terry Davis, thanks for the question. In the What's It Worth segment, brought to you by AMSOIL. AMSOIL, the first to come out with synthetic oil in 1973. We'll be talking a little bit about them in a moment. But right now, we're going to take a look at this 1976 CR125, a full FMF package. I loved, it was a great thing this week when I was able to put this show together with the DG bike from Rich Clark, and of course the FMF racer that just sold last week that was rebuilt by Bill Mascio. This bike went for $8,500 on eBay. To me, way, way undervalued. Can't tell everybody what to sell their bike for, and we all sell things at different times for different reasons. But this bike had on it the authentic FMF swing arm. It had the head. Jordan, let's take a look at some of the pictures. It had a beautiful paint job on it, as I just mentioned, the FMF swing arm, the FMF head. The detail in a Bill Mascio restoration is as good as it's ever going to get. He's also got the fork extenders on this bike. There's that porcupine head, probably valued at $600 to $700 all by itself. Look at the detail in the hardware. Look at how the paint finishes are on this bike. The side panels are beautiful with the number plate backgrounds all painted on. The cables look great. The hubs, he's got the right 1975. If you notice, look closely around the bead of the tire. It's got a 1975 rim on there, which would be correct for this bike at that time. Really nice job, Bill Mascio. He's got the right pipe on there, the bars, the chrome, the cables. And when you look at it, I mean, that picture with that #1 plate just staring you right in the face, right there with the red grips and everything, that really, really takes you back to 1976 when you see the details in a bike like this. For 8,500 bucks, I thought this was a smoking deal. There's the fork extenders I was talking about a little bit earlier. Kind of a complicated modification at that time. It wasn't for just anybody. You had to cut the bottom of the fork, or you didn't have to cut the bottom of the fork, but you had to put that extender on there with the cooling fin, and then you had to have it welded. It was a pretty complicated thing back then, but also a really, really trick item. Everybody would want something like that back in 1976. Paint job on the bike was spectacular. I mean, look at the shine on there. The fork chrome looks great. It's got the right number plate on there. I think Scott Steger had something to do with this bike at some point going back, way back, over 10 years ago, when he was putting some bikes together like this. And back then they were selling for $8,500, somewhere around the $8,000 mark, which is why I thought in today's dollars, this bike was a really, really screaming deal at 8,500 bucks. So was it worth $8,500? It was worth more than that if you ask me. You couldn't build it for that, and you'd have a hell of a time going out there trying to find all those parts that Bill Mascio found to build that bike. AMSOIL. Oh, we got trivia. Okay. If you have your phone, you're in good shape if you're watching this on your computer. If you're not, you're going to need somebody else's phone. We're going to give you a question in just a minute, and you're going to have a chance to win an autograph number plate from Preston Petty. Thank you, Paul Standard and Preston Petty, for being a sponsor of the show. Jordan, I love the way you put my picture on that little flip phone like that. Nice touch. Here's the question. In 1980, Marty Moats was the first American to win the USGP at Carlsbad. He got the overall that day in 1980. Over there is the DVD available from Carlsbad, the Carlsbad USGP. It was amazing. If you get a chance, get it. Now, my question is, he won the overall that day in 1980. In 1977, somebody else won the first moto. He broke down in the second moto. Somebody else won the first moto in 1977. Tell me who that guy was, and I will get you a Preston Petty autograph number plate. Marty Moats was the first to win the overall in 1980. Who was the first American racer to win a moto in 1977? Susie is standing by inside. Call her at 925-234-8181, 925-234-8181, and she'll come in with the phone. I'll take your call, and you're going to win yourself a nice Preston Petty number plate. Jordan, what do we got next? In the product spotlight, we were just talking about Preston Petty, and we're going to continue on talking about a really, really great Preston Petty product. This week, we're talking about these great GP grips. We, of course, at Vintage Motocross Q&A are real happy that we are a Preston Petty authorized dealer. You can get stuff from me, or you can get it right from the Preston Petty website. This week, as I just mentioned, are the grips. All right, Jordan, back up a second. Because you know what? I love Preston Petty products. I love talking about it, and I love seeing them on the screen like this, especially on that beautiful rough cut board like that. We all wanted it back in 1974 and 1975. They had the blue, the orange, the white, the red. Preston Petty made all the cool stuff that we wanted. The integrated number plate with the headlight on it. He had the tail light on the fender. He had the grips. He had that toolbox, which he doesn't have here. I don't know if we'll be making them anymore. He had the toolbox number plate type thing. Everybody loved Preston Petty products. So getting back to what we're talking about tonight, though, the GP grips. These grips were designed by Preston Petty way back in the day. And a little bit of trivia, additional trivia for you. Jim Pomeroy and Brad Lackey both used these grips on their bikes when they raced. They used them on their Husky. They used them on their Bultaco way back when Preston Petty first came out with these grips. It's the same design that Preston Petty made back in 1974 and 1975. Now, here's the great thing. Here's the show special that you're going to be getting just because you're a viewer of Vintage Motocross Q&A. These grips generally sell for two pair. They would be $49.90, $49.90 for two pair. But because you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, you can get two pair for just $24.95. Now here's what you have to do. You have to inbox me for the coupon code. You inbox me for the coupon code, I'll give it to you. You're going to go over to the Preston Petty website. You're going to get 2 sets of grips like this for just $24.95. I bet you got more than one bike. You probably got a bunch of bikes out there that have ripped grips on them. Would look much cooler if they had a set of grips like this from Preston Petty. These GP grips. It's the hottest thing going. Inbox me for the code. I'll get it to you. You can go over to Preston Petty Products and get yourself a set of grips like this for $24.95. And they got a lot of other cool stuff over there too. You know, Paul Stannard has been very, very generous to Vintage Motocross Q&A week after week, giving us a special to extend to our viewers. You call in or you write in, you give us a drop a note to us in our inbox. We give you a code. You go over to the Preston Petty website and you get yourself some really cool products and you save yourself some money. I don't hear Susie coming in here. Is her phone ringing? 925-234-8181. Call Susie right now with the answer to the trivia question. Get yourself a Preston Petty number plate. AMSOIL, the first in synthetic oil in 1973. I'll tell you what, Russell Waters and the people at AMSOIL, they had a special going here. Now, just hear me out on this. They've had a special going on here for 3 weeks between the degreaser, the mudslinger, the chain lube, the octane boost, which boosts your octane by 4 points. And this little bottle right here happens to be good for 15 gallons. They've got a funnel. They've included some stickers. And for the past 3 or 4 weeks, they have slashed the price by 44% from $88.40 to $49.99. I talked to Russell Waters just yesterday, and here's what he's going to do. He's not only going to send you all that stuff for $49.99, he is going to include either a bottle of 10 or lightweight number 5 shock therapy oil. This is for your forks. This is for your shocks. This is an additional $15 savings. It's free. It's $15. It's coming to you with all these other items. You can't beat that. Russell Waters and the people in AMSOIL, this is only a limited time though. So get over there, save 47%, 44%? Save that. Get a bottle of of shock therapy oil free. Compliments of Russell Waters and AMSOIL. You got to go to AMSOIL Plus at AOL. That is their PayPal, and AMSOIL Plus at AOL is also their email. What you're going to do is when you go to email them, you're going to give them your address. You're going to tell them which weight oil you want. Then you're going to go over to AMSOIL Plus at AOL, and on PayPal, and then you're going to pay them. And you know what? While we're talking about it, well, you know what? Susie's here with the winner of the trivia contest. Let's get that taken care of first, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about another AMSOIL product. Hi, this is Joe. You're on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Who am I speaking to?
Don Nostro. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing all right. How about you, Don?
I'm doing great.
All right, man. Listen, in 1980, Marty Moat shocked the world that day with a win overall at Carlsbad. But in 1977, there was an American who did win the first motor. Who was that guy?
Jim Pomeroy.
Exactly. Jim, the first American Pomeroy. That's who won in 1977. Unfortunately, his bike did break in the second moto. Otherwise, who knows? History may be a little bit different today. Now, listen, Don, I'm going to put Susie back on the phone. She's going to get your address, and we're going to get you out a Preston Petty number plate.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Great show.
Thank you so much for watching. By the way, Paul Stannard, I'm running out of Preston Petty number plates. You got to get a hold of Preston to get me a new batch. But right now, I was just talking about, or just previously, I was talking about AMSOIL. I've got this from AMSOIL this week, and it's compressor oil. I put it in my compressor. It's great. Now look, it says that your compressor will run cooler and it will run quieter. I don't know if it runs cooler yet. I can't tell you. I haven't checked that. But I can tell you one thing. As soon as I changed the oil and I turned it on, it definitely ran quieter. So with all the other cool stuff that AMSOIL is making and sending us and making available to you, viewers of Vintage Motocross Q&A, I would also recommend, although a non-motorcycle item, I want to recommend their compressor oil. Go over to AMSOIL, the oil people. Thanks, Russell Waters. Jordan, what do we got next? Commercial break. Thank you. I really need to get a sip of water. I'm sure we're going to be hearing from Vinco.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vinco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vinco, keep the ride going.
I want to thank Vinco.com for not only sending us that great commercial that makes our show look so good, but this week Vinco has a special 1974, 1975 CR125 clutch cables. That's from Vinco. Now they got a savings code. It says Vintage Q&A 320. This is going on all month long. So if you need a clutch cable for your little CR125 for just $19.95 from Vinco, you can get it. Don't forget, little product code right there, Q&A 320, Vintage Q&A 320. I want to thank everybody at Vinco for being so generous to us over the past couple of months. And go check out their catalog. They've got over 650 products in there. And I want to, again, thank everybody at Vinco. Just how I see it, this is a part of the show where I tell you about something that I've experienced during the week or something that's been on my mind, and I want to tell you about it. This particular week, I was going back and forth on Facebook with a Facebook buddy. His name is Phil Job. It's spelled J-O-B. I don't think it's Job. I think it's Job because he said some things to me. And well, anyway, he's from the UK. He's got a great little Facebook page called Pumpin' Two Strokes, Evo Super, Evo Twin Shock Vintage, and Pumpin' Two Strokes. It's got a really long name, but it's a really cool page. So if you get an opportunity, go over and see Phil and check out his page. What we were talking about was gas tank repair. And someone on his page had a dent in the tank. And of course, somebody wanted to know, how do you get dents out of a tank? Jordan, let's look at the next slide if we could. It wasn't an Elsinore tank, but as soon as someone had put an aluminum tank on there, someone mentioned my name. And right away, there were people on there who were saying, fill it with water, put it in a freezer. Another one said, put a Schrader valve into the cap and plug the end, fill it up with air. That'll take the dent out. Nothing pisses me off more than when people give advice about something they know nothing about. And I can tell you right now, if someone tells you to put air in a tank or put water in it and put it in the freezer, they don't know what they're talking about. What I liked about Phil was he was a guy who was open-minded to different ideas, and he also presented some ideas about how to build some kind of strap to go around the tank, how maybe you could put air in a steel tank, but only a few pounds, heat up the dented area, and it would rise. What I'm trying to tell everybody here is next time you see somebody on Facebook that has a dented gas tank, and you see someone that suggests either putting air in the tank or filling it with water and putting it in a freezer, which is definitely going to destroy the tank, ask them if they've ever done it themselves. Ask them. That sounds like a great idea. Here's what you tell them. That sounds like a great idea. Do you have any pictures of you doing that? You'll never see a picture of them doing it because they've never done it. What I'm trying to tell you is when people give bad advice, especially on a gas tank, because if somebody doesn't know how to get a certain part off of a bike, well, they're probably not going to destroy it. They're just not going to be able to get it off. But when somebody says to do something on a gas tank, like put air in it or put ice in it, you're going to destroy the tank. You're going to render it useless. So think about that. Next time you see somebody, ask them that question. I don't know why somebody would give advice on something that they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about and why they would do that. Here's a gas tank I fixed for a guy. It was a steel tank. I did this on a full restoration. Dent was on the top. It didn't come out with ice. It didn't come out with air. I had to cut the tank and get a dent off the top, get a dent out of the side. Don't give bad advice. If you don't know what you're talking about in certain areas, don't say anything. Read. Do more reading, do less typing. That's just how I see it. Announcements. Let's take a look and see what we got here this week, Jordan. So many things have been closing up. So many races. Now I don't know if the Scott Burnworth SoCal Vintage Classic 11 is still going to be on. That's supposed to take place on June 13th. So keep checking back with the burner on his page with the SoCal Vintage MX Classic. See if that race is still going to happen. I don't know. So many things have been canceled this week, so many races. I was scheduled to go to Australia at the end of May, early June. That's been canceled. Classic Dirt 6, put on by VMX Magazine and so many others who help out with that. That's been canceled, so we don't know when that's going to happen. If Scott's race is going to happen down in Southern California, and who knows, maybe it might. Keep checking back with him, see if it does. Feld announced today, and I saw this on the Motocross Action Facebook page, that the Supercross season is going to be finished up. I don't know when this is going to happen, but they say 7 more rounds are going to happen. The last 7 rounds are going to happen later in the year. So all you Tomac fans that are ready to pop the cork, don't pop it just yet. Feld Entertainment says, nope, there's going to be 7 races. It's going to take place. We're going to finish out a full season. I'd be anxious to see that just as much as anybody else would. GTL Metal Polishing, George Lucas out in New Jersey. He's making things shine out there like nobody before. He's not only a good guy when it comes to polishing stuff for cars, he's a vintage motocross guy, and he'll make your stuff the way you want it before you send it into plating. Get a hold of GTL, gtlmetalpolishing.com. He's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. He's all over the place. Thanks, George, for being a supporter of the show. Vintage Motocross Q&A Radio. You heard that correctly. I have recently put up a page on Facebook. It's not really open yet, but it's called Vintage Motocross Q&A Radio. It's going to be happening, I'm thinking, at 4 p.m. on Sundays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 o'clock on the East. It'll be more of a radio show than it will be a Q&A show like we're doing here. So what we're going to do is maybe have some topics where people can call in and discuss the topics. Or maybe I'll have some people call in and we can discuss different things. It will not be the same format as this show. It's not going to really be a Q&A show. It's going to be a show more like a radio thing, more like a call-in thing, where I'll give a topic like we just saw with Supercross, having 7 more races and finishing out the season. Maybe that'll be the topic that day. But we're going to need your commitment to call in to Vintage Motocross Q&A Radio. I'm thinking that's going to happen sometime around the first Sunday in April. And it is a group, so you will be able to add your friends and share it a lot easier than you do Vintage Motocross Q&A, the Wednesday night show. So stay tuned. I'll be making some more announcements about that in the future. Jordan, what do we got up next? FastGuyStuff.com, still pumping out those stickers, giving it to our friends every week who are sending in bikes for the Moto Showcase. Sean Gomes, I'm running a little low on stickers. And guys are sending in bikes every week, so we're going to be needing more. FastGuyStuff.com, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They've got a page on the internet. They have a web. So go over to FastGuyStuff.com, make some really cool stickers, period correct for your bike, things that you're going to want on your restoration if you want some little snappy touches on it. Sean Gomes, thanks again. What else we have here? Sponsorship opportunities. Now, I know this is probably a real difficult time for some of you with so many things being shut down in different industries, but when it all comes back, and it will, because we're Americans and we always come back, there's going to be some sponsorship opportunities. I've got some real estate behind me yet, and I'd love to get the name of your company up on the board and get you in position to start selling some more products and get some people looking at your site as well, your Facebook page, your Instagram page, or your website. Over 20,000 people watch this show every week, not live when it's on right now, but after 5 or 6 days, after people share it, it's all over the place, and up to 20,000 people see the show. So think about that. If you want a proposal, inbox me. I'll get you a copy. You can take a look at it. We can custom tailor something special for you and your company. Well, looks like that's it for tonight. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Vintage Motocross Q&A. Jordan, thank you so much for everything you've done. Susie, Preston Petty Products, FastGuyStuff.com, and everyone else involved. I want to thank everybody for being here on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I hope I can see you next week. Where's Gino? Gino, what, come on, boy. Hey, we'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Yeah, that's Daddy's boy. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm gonna get down now. Okay.